Okay, so we actually no, I want to share a personal story of when I was your age. Okay, so actually younger than you. My first game system was a Nintendo, just regular Nintendo, nothing, no numbers or anything like that, just Nintendo. My first video game was Legend of Zelda, the gold version for the Nintendo. Now, here's the funny part of that whole story. Okay, so I was like 5 years old, and my dad got me this game system, and he's like, okay, so it came and it was Christmas, and I opened it up, and I was super excited about having it, and I was ready to play it. Okay, and he goes, okay, hold on, and he takes out the instruction manual for how to set up the Nintendo, and then he sits down in the living room. Okay, I'm going to read this and figure out how it works. Meanwhile, while he was doing that, I grabbed the system, I went to the television, I hooked it up. So I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes went by, and he comes to the room and he goes, okay, I figured out how to, and I'm sitting there playing it. And he's like, oh, never mind. And I go, figured out how to what? And he goes, figured out how to set it up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's done, Dad. I don't need help for that. I figured it out already. So he was reading the instructions because it had to be connected to the television, right? And I didn't know how to do it, but I looked at the pieces, I looked at the television, I put two and two together, and I did it um, because I wanted to. I was motivated. I wanted to play the game, so I did not want to read. Well, at 5 years old, I probably was unable to fully read the instruction manual anyway. I could only read, at a 5 year old level, right? So here's my dad, like, yeah, I read everything now and I know how to do it. And it's like, well, I already figured it out. So let's fast forward to when I'm like 11 years old, and it was time to vacuum the house, and the vacuum was clogged. Okay, it had dirt in there and it needed to be cleaned out. So I did not want to vacuum the house. Of course, it's a chore. Who wants to do that? So my father, same, my dad, he comes home from work. Hey, how come you didn't vacuum the house? Oh, well, I'm playing video games. Hey, you're not supposed to play video games. You're supposed to be vacuuming the house. Oh, yeah, the vacuum's broken. I don't know what's wrong with it. It ain't working. And he's like, what? So he goes over there and he turns it on and he realizes it's clogged. And he goes, come over here. He goes, so let me get this straight. You plugged it in, you tried to turn it on, and it was on, but it wasn't sucking anything up. So that's why you say it's broken. I go, yeah, that's exactly right, Dad. And he goes, did it occur to you to check to see if it was clogged? Okay, like to see if it was full and maybe needed to be emptied out. And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, because you didn't want to. You don't want to do this. So you could set up a Nintendo. You could do whatever you want. I mean, I have lots of things that I've done. If I was motivated, I would do it. And, so the point of the story is because I was motivated to do the video games and many other things in my life, I've been motivated to do those things because I wanted to do those things. I did them. And I didn't need help. I didn't ask for help. I figured it out on my own. Versus things I don't want to do, like vacuuming the house. So it's like, oh, the vacuum cleaner's not working. Great. I don't want to do it. And it's like, oh, but you could have figured out how to get the vacuum working and doing what needs to be done, but you just didn't want to do it. And that's, as a teacher, I take that lesson from my own life. As a teacher, I take that into teaching. And I have learned that students are the same exact way. If they don't want to do something, there's all sorts of problems. Oh, I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. I'm confused. And it's like a drudgery because you don't want to do that thing. Right? So it's like, now I'm going to make you have to explain every step to me. I'm going to be super aggravating. I don't know. I don't get, like, the number one question I love the most from kids is, okay, you say I don't know or I don't understand. What don't you understand? Everything. Everything is what? How do you not understand everything? You don't understand the first. Did you read the first part? What does the first part say? What does the second part say? Let's get to where you're actually having the problem. So that's the funny part to me because all kids are that way. So we've talked about what is school for, and I actually said it in the first video. all the kids' hands were up, everybody was engaged. And that normally doesn't happen in a class because, some kids are interested in what's going on, other kids are not interested in what's going on. So in this class, we have the luxury of being able to pick what we want to do. So you picked this class, you chose to be here. It wasn't elective. Now, some of you, maybe not. Maybe some of you, you were just put in here, or you didn't have that many options and you just picked this thing. I don't know. I've had kids who are in my class and they're like, I didn't pick this. Just put me in here. I get that and I feel you. Okay, it does happen. But now that you're here, you have things that you can pick that you're interested in, that you might be interested in. So I want you to pick those. Now is picking time, because now I need to know what you want to do so I can start giving you those specific lessons. Because like right now, this whole week, everything I've been doing has gone to all of my classes. So if you're an intro to STEM, or if you're intro to programming, or you're investigating careers, you've all received the same videos and these same assignments that I've been giving. Nothing has been different. But next week, that's not going to be the case, because if you're doing robotics, I'm going to start giving you the robotic stuff. If you're doing 3D printing, then I'm going to give you the 3D printing stuff. So we're going to break down those things. You're going to have a choice that you have to pick, which is also kind of the do now, I guess, for the day. You're going to select which path, which learning path you want. So we have this video here, and it's learning how to learn. Okay, so the last video you watched a TED Talk where he was like, hey, what if schools taught us the way that we want, teach us how to learn? Well, I am teaching you how to learn. I'm showing you that it's on your end. Okay, as a teacher, it is really my job to present things to you and inspire you. It's on your end to do the work. I mean, all of these lessons that I'm giving you, I could do I could build the robot. Right. And actually, my first year here at HMS, I gave the students the robot. I was like, boom, here's the robot. And that's the same thing I'll do to you. So if you pick robotics, this year's going to be a little bit different, right? Because you're going to have Coder. If you're online and you pick robotics, then you're going to have Coder Z, and I'm going to give you virtual things to do. And that will be a little more step by step, because I have to learn that process too. I've never actually done the virtual Coder Z thing. But if you're here in class and you're doing a robot, I actually went through my resources in school. Yeah, I should be able to give each student their own individual robot. I've done the numbers, and it's like, okay, I think it might actually work out. But I'll wait to see how many kids I have, right? But either way, if I hand you a robot, you're just going to do it. And I'm not going to walk you through it. I'm not going to say, okay, this is how you screw a screw, and this is how this. No, you haven't. It's like Legos, man. You got instructions. It's not Legos. There are Lego robots. We're not doing those. We're doing actual Vex robots, and there are MakerBots in our closet that I'll also pull out. But either way, you will receive a robot, and I'm not going to show you how to build it. There's instructions to follow for that. And that's where I come from. You will learn through failure. You will do something and it may not work. I've had students spend entire class periods doing something only to realize it didn't work at all, and the next class period have to take it all apart and start over again. That's how learning happens. And I know nobody likes to go through that frustrating learning process, but unfortunately that's what works. Because then you actually learn, as opposed to, okay, follow what I'm doing. And what happens when I do it and you follow along with me is then when it comes time for you to do it, it's like, oh, what did he do? Oh, I forgot. What do I do with this part? That's not learning. And actually that's memorization, because now you're just memorizing what I did and duplicating that process. You learn more through failure. Don't believe me? Go ask the military. But anyway, let's get into this video, because this guy breaks it down. I'm going to break it down. So it's going to be another one of those videos where I break everything down through this video. But I love this video. It's a great video.
What's up, guys? Armada here. And in today's video, we are going to talk about learning how to learn. A lot of times I get questions, how do I improve the fastest and stuff like that. And very recently I was at the Alliance office and they actually had a presentation for the Dota team on this topic, and I ended up sitting there listening to it, and I could just look back at, my own career, all the things I've done, and I could really see like how much I've applied these things. I basically taught myself these things, and the thing is, the concept is not too complicated at all, but I feel like a lot of pieces people might not really think about enough or know about. So we're gonna go over these four steps in this video. We're also gonna go over what I call the illusion of learning that I think a lot of smashers have been falling for. I know I myself fell for it in the past. So sit down and enjoy the ride. The first step in learning how to learn is obviously practice, playing. This could be playing against people, this could be playing on your own, getting all the tech skill down, etc, etc. This is probably the most common thing that people do when they try to learn something. They're focusing on like doing, pretty much the same thing over and over, playing endless friendlies, stuff like that.
All right, so we are talking about Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, I like Super Smash Brothers, and I would like to create an esports team. There's actually several games I would like to throw down on, but I don't want to get into that side conversation. So I'm just going to say this very simply: if you are interested in an esports team at HMS, send me an email saying I'm interested in esports, and then we'll kind of figure out how that's going to look with everything that's going on. Anyway, practice. Nobody likes practice. Go ask the athletics how often they practice to get good at athletics. Go ask any sports star how much practice they put into the show. Okay, if you want to be the best, if you want things to work, if you want to succeed, you're going to have to practice. And that goes with school too. I've said it before. Nobody is born smart. It is not genetically passed down. Intelligence is taught and it is learned. So when, like in my own experience, I've said, I wasn't really great at math. I was okay at math. I didn't really like math. And that's why math was a challenge, because I had to sit down and I had to practice and I had to do the work. And that's with all of school. I've already said to you in the previous video, everybody could pass the STAR test. Everybody could get A's. It's not about, and that might be the only injustice that I would say exists in school, is where you take a test and then you fail and that's it, right? And actually that's not it, because here at HMS, you can always retake the test. The question is, will you retake the test? Because then some kids are like, I don't want to retake the test. It goes back to that attitude piece. If your attitude is, I don't want to do this thing, then you're not going to be great at it, and then you're not going to put in that work. So that's why I love this video, because it's talking about Super Smash Brothers, right? So the reality is, any video game you play, right? You play a game and like let's say it's Super Smash Brothers, right? So you're playing as a character and you got to learn all the moves, and then you're fighting somebody and then they beat you like this, and then you go, okay, so Link can do this, and let me change how I do this, and you start learning the strategies based on practice, right? So if you have the attitude of I don't want to play this game because every time I play I get beat, then you're just not going to be successful at that game, right? But if you're the kind of person who's like, I'm going to learn how to be great, then you play and 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 you play. I've met kids who tell me that they'll play Call of Duty, 7-8 hours a night, or Grand Theft Auto 12 hours a day, or, pick your game and you're playing it for hours and hours and hours. Okay, well, if you sat down and did your math homework for hours and hours and hours, you would be an amazing math person. Or if you were reading for hours and hours, you'd be an amazing reader. Okay, and it's like, well, who wants to do that? There are people who want to do that. And the question is, what do you want? So this goes back to the original question of, what is school for you? What are you trying to get out of this thing? Where do you want to go? And that's the point of this class. What career are you interested in? Where do you want to go with this? Because You are going, here I am as a teacher, and I've literally spent all day today creating lessons for my students. And I did not have the attitude of, ugh, I gotta make these lessons. Because if I had that attitude, it wouldn't be good. Okay, I wouldn't have made all these videos. I could have just been like, okay, copy paste. Okay, here's the video. Okay, write something about it. And I could have been done in 2 hours if I just, threw some stuff up on Schoology and said, okay, watch these videos. Instead of sitting here and having this conversation with you and editing each video and tailoring it specifically to you. And then next week, I'm going to have all the robotic stuff and all those things broken down. That's because I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And so I need you to find what you are passionate about. That's where we're going. It's picking time. So have that mentality, because you are going to have to practice that thing over and over and over again. Okay? It's just a reality. The same, you're already doing it. You do those things. If you are good at anything you're good at, okay? If you're good at gaming, you've played that game a lot, okay? I met girls who are like, I don't play games. Yeah, but look at your makeup. It's amazing. That means you spend hours in the mirror practicing, right? And you watch YouTube videos on how to get good at makeup, okay? So anything you're interested about, you're going to put the time in to get good at that thing. So now it's time to figure out, what do you want to do with your whole life? What do you want your life to be about? And then start putting in the practice and the time for that. And you want to do it now, because you're in middle school and you're in school and you have the time to do it now. Too many adults wait, like something, kids sometimes wait like, oh, well, that'll be a thing that'll happen when I grow up. And then you start. No. Now's the time, because you have the time. Okay? So experience. First lesson, experience.
So that's gonna be the number one thing that is very important if you want to get good at something. Spend the hours putting in the work. The second step is gonna be to study matches when it comes to Smash. Then, for example, going over footage. This is like a huge advantage we have as Smashers, especially in this time and age. We can go over footage very often. Everyone might not have the same chances of, having as much stuff recorded, but if you do, then you for sure should take advantage of this. And if you don't really have the chance too often, then at least try to increase the times you can get your stuff recorded. So this is going to be a very important one as well. Sitting down, going over the matches. I think one reason that this one is not made enough is that partly people probably don't understand the importance of actually going over your own matches to see what flaws you're doing, what you could be doing better, and so on. So this one really, really important, and it might not be the most fun thing to do. I know for myself, studying matches was my least favorite thing pretty much within Smash, but a very, very important point. So this one also is going to be very necessary for our 4-way step of learning how to learn.
So I'll actually record right in the middle of this cut as I'm creating this video. Reflecting is what you are doing here in school. So in actuality, what testing should be, at least in my opinion, is to just determine where you're at, right? So if I present a material to you, actually I'll back up, not in this class. If I, like when I was a science teacher, right? Let's say we're doing, the parts of the cell. And I say, okay, here are all the organelles of the cell, and maybe we do a little diagram or whatever we do. Okay, and now it's like, okay, you have all the parts of the cell. Now we take a test. And the test is, well, it's memorization. So the test is to see how much you've memorized on the parts of the cell. But you fail the test, right? And it says, oh, you didn't study, you weren't paying attention, you just bombed that test. Okay, well, that means you've learned nothing on the cell. Okay, so the negative part is, okay, now I get a bad grade, I guess, right? But in actuality, like if you were playing a video game, you would just, get beat up. Like if you're playing Smash, and you didn't memorize the rules, or you didn't know how to play the game, you would just get beat by your opponents and you would not do well. So if you want to do well, he's saying watch the footage of other Smashers, but you would actually, study. So how do I actually do the problem, or let me study the organelles and actually learn what they are and put some effort in because I care about passing this test, and then Now you go pass the test. So maybe you got a 65 the first time because you didn't really study, and then next time you get a 90 because, oh, maybe I got a couple wrong because I didn't remember all of it. And then if you're okay with the 90, you just, okay, I'll go with the 90. But if you're a real, like, OCD person, is like, no, 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 I need to take this again until I get an A. And as a student, I'm sure you've already experienced taking a test, and then after you take the test and you get it back, you go, oh, that's what I got wrong. And it's like when you do homework sometimes, you did it, and then you go to class and they go over the homework, and it's like, oh, that's what I got wrong. Okay. And that's what I'm saying, learning through failure. You messed up, but then you learned, and now you know that thing. Okay. It's the same process. That is what reflection actually is. It is going over what you did and saying, "Oh, that's where I messed up." Okay? So that's nobody really likes doing that part. Okay? That's the frustrating part is trying something and failing and then going, "Ah, I got to do it again." Especially if it's something you don't like. Okay? And I've been there, everybody's been there. But if you want to get good at whatever it is, that's the effort you got to put in.
Step number 3 is gonna go a little bit further than just looking at the matches, but it's also gonna be trying to thinking about solutions for what you could do instead. A lot of times you can very often see in matches that people, they keep falling for the same thing over and over and over again. And the reason that a lot of these things have not been corrected by players is because they just keep going for the practice. The first step in learning how to learn is that they keep playing friendlies over and over. They don't really pay attention to the details. They don't go to step 2 of looking over their matches. So they kind of miss a lot of, crucial points in learning how to learn. That they just keep playing, and they do not reflect over the fact of like, what mistakes am I doing? So they keep falling for the same things over and over. And since they are not looking at the things that they are doing wrong over and over, they are also not thinking of solutions of how to overcome these issues. When I do study matches, even at the highest level, you can very often see patterns. It doesn't matter how much commentators are trying to say that this player is 100% unpredictable, stuff like that. Every human being is not unpredictable to that degree. We all players have our own habits, our own flaws, and it's always another step upwards to go. So
that part happens kind of subconsciously. So in the last cut, I just said, okay, if you take a test, right, and for me, it was always math because I was really good at other subjects. So math is my kind of go-to. I had an issue with challenge kind of a thing, right? So and then especially when you start talking about trigonometry and all that, but you guys aren't there yet. But it's the reflection part is the studying. It's okay, how did I do this thing? What don't I understand? It's like asking that question. Okay, where am I getting caught up? Where am I having the problem? Then when you find that and it's like, okay, I got to work through that. You got your teachers who will help you through it. That's why I say don't just say, oh, I don't understand everything. That doesn't help me. It's like, okay, then let's take it from the top. Step 1, but then you're like, I don't go through this 100,000 times. Right, so let's get to the point. And that's the thing. If you're not reflecting, okay, like he said, the thinking part, a lot of players don't do. And I love this video because it's using gaming psychology to explain how to learn. And you do it subconsciously without thinking. So in a gaming aspect, you'll have guys who are not reflecting. They're not studying other players. They're not thinking about what they did wrong. And so they don't get that aha moment. And in school, that thinking part that he's talking about here is like, for instance, when you get your test back, and let's say you got an 80, let's say you didn't fail. You got an 80, right? and you got like 4 questions wrong, right? So you go and you look at those 4 questions, and one of those questions you're like, oh, that was the correct answer, right? And maybe while you were taking the test, you're like, oh, maybe it's this one, or maybe it's that one, and then you pick that one, and it's the other one, and you're like, well, that you felt, that's the thinking. Because the reflecting part is when it's not a long process. It's not a long, complicated process. Some students want to make it seem like it's so drudgerous. It's not. The reflecting part is, okay, I got an 80. Let me see the question that I got wrong, right? So there's your reflection. Oh, that's the one I got wrong. And then the aha, oh, it was the other one, and I remember what I did wrong. And now you remember, right? Because I don't think I've forgotten any problem where I had that, oh, that was the one, right? That's where that feeling of, you just learned. And that's also the thinking part that this guy is talking about. So you practice, you reflect, you study, and then, oh yeah, that's it. And now you've mastered it. Okay? And that's where the mastery comes from. So in my eyes, I would rather all my students go through this process over and over and over again and learn that thing. And then I can give everybody 100 and say, hey, all my students know their stuff, man. Go ahead, test them, see what they can do, see what they'll show you, and that's where it's at, And that's why I love this video, because we do it. You do it without even realizing it. Okay, like even if you're not a gamer, because I know, like even girls will be like, I'm not a gamer. You play Candy Crush or something. Everybody plays something. You might play Uno. Right, and then you learn, right, when that guy hits you with the reverse and the skip and the draw two, you go, oh, that's how you do that. It's like, yeah, you just learned. You're learning. You are learning no matter if you realize it or not.
So, yeah, as we have said, playing the game, study the game, and thinking about things you can do differently is very, very important. Then some people might be thinking like, oh, but I don't know what I should be doing instead. I did play and I did reflect, but I'm not really sure what I can do instead. And that's a fair point. For me personally, back in the day, what I did a lot, because I didn't really have many other people to look up to, what I was doing myself was a lot of testing things. If I was like, oh, I'm losing to this move over and over again, I was like, all right, I do not know the answer to this situation, so I'm testing things out. I'm testing to see, does this work? Does this work? No, it didn't. And even if it didn't work, I still learned an important lesson, right? Because now I know whatever I tried doing, it didn't work in this scenario. So I'm still one experience richer, and then I'm still trying to search for the answer, right? But especially in this time and age, let's say you're playing Fox, and you are having a hard time dealing with, let's say, Sheik's F-tilt and melee, you can look up so many Foxes and see how do they handle these situations, and then you can take inspiration from that. So that's also a way of doing it. So even if you don't know the answer, you can try to find the answer by another top player doing it, or by testing things out yourself and see what works best for you. And the final step is going to be, obviously, to apply these things. It doesn't really matter if you play, study, and think about it if you also don't apply the things that you came up with. So that's going to be the final step in learning how to learn.
And I'm just going to leave it there. I mean, I cut this video off on that part because it's the application that's the final part. Like I said, once you have that, that's it. You learned it. And then you apply that knowledge that you've achieved. Here in this gaming thing that he's talking about, like if you use Smash, I use Kirby. I like Kirby. You learn how to deal with other players. You learn the capabilities of the other characters. And then once you've gone through the cycle where you've had enough experience, you've done enough reflection, you've had your that's how I do it. That's it. Now you're going to apply it, and that's once you get to the application part, that's when you start becoming super experienced, and then you go back to experience. There's something else you're going to learn, something else you're going to add to your repertoire. So there might be a move that I learn, and then I figured out how to do it, right? Like actually, Smash is okay because it's basic. But like if you think about Mortal Kombat, I used to play Mortal Kombat a lot, and Mortal Kombat has finishing moves and you have to actually know the moves, and you have to do them quickly. It's not like they have a certain amount of time. It's like finish him, to get it off, and that's once you know how to do it, that's it. You're not gonna. Well, hopefully, you're not gonna forget the school. You might forget the stuff in the video game, but like for instance, if I played Mortal Kombat today, I'd probably be terrible because I've forgotten everything. I'm an old man now. But the schooling part, the things that you learn in school, if you learn how to build a robot and maybe and I use a robot. Let's go 3D printing, right? Let's give the 3D printers a piece. You learn how to do Tinkercad and you learn how to build a model. Okay, well, once you've learned how to do that, apply that to your life and do something. Make the model and remember it. Don't forget that because you don't want to go through that frustrating process again. Maybe build upon it. Like, okay, now that I've learned how to build a stationary model, maybe I want to make one with moving parts. Once I've done that, maybe I want to start figuring out maybe how I can animate that. Maybe do stop motion or get into some other thing, texturing and other parts of design that are cool. Then you have a piece, and then you're going back to the experience part, and then you're applying something new to your skill set, and then you go through the experience part, and then you apply something else to your skill set, and that's what masters are. I mean, people who are masters of their crafts have learned everything, gone through this process, and are simply just every time. So if this is that application part, right? So you got to, in his circle, it's experience. Experience is just practice, the reflection, the thinking, application. Well, you get here, you're not going to lose this. You're going to keep that here. And then you go through your experience and you add something else to your application. Then you go through your experience and you learn something else to your application. Like I always go back to the robotics because I really want to get into drones. So like once you learn how to do the robot and a basic robot and a Vex robot, right? So it's like, okay, now I'm going to learn drones, right? Boom. And it's not as simple as that because there's a lot of process to drones. But what I'm saying is this process, this circular learning cycle is what we are all here to do. And really what I want to do, and the reason why I showed those previous videos, is to break your idea of what school used to be or what you thought it was or how you may personally feel it is. I want you to take all of that jumbled mess of feelings and toss that in the garbage and come to this class fresh and ready to roll on something new and get that experience part and then start applying what you want to do, because that's where we're going. What do you want to learn for adulthood and going into careers? So now that we've gone through this circular process and we've learned these things, it is time to pick. So in your next assignment, you're going to have options that you have to pick. It's not really an assignment, it's more of a discussion. And you're going to pick which path of learning you want to go to. And then I'm going to start separating people into where they want to go. So at the time of watching this video, it is Friday, and we have made it through our first week of virtual learning here at HMS, and actually it was successful for me. I'm pretty happy about everything that we've done, and I hope that you feel the same way. And once again, I'm excited to actually get into it. So like I said in the very first video, I said it might take a month, but you could tell I'm excited because I really started thinking it out on how I can make this happen. And next week, I really want to start pumping out the individual lessons for those different pathways that we're going to go. So it's Friday. You've done a great job. Enjoy your weekend.